Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed one, the worthy one, the supremely enlightened one. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So today we are learning a sutta from the Sutta Nipata. Have you heard Sutta Nipata? So there are not many English translations, very rare, of the Sutta Nipata. Almost non-existent, I would say. So, but there are very beautiful suttas in the Sutta Nipata. Today we are going to learn Ajita Sutta. Ajita Sutta from the Sutta Nipata, Parayana Vagga. Okay? The meaning of the word Parayana is, if you realize the meaning, you will be carried ashore. You will be carried from this shore to the opposite shore. Okay? So what is this shore? That is where we all are. What represents this shore? The samsara, where all the suffering lies, where all the troubles are, where all the difficulties, burdens of the life are present. That is the shore we are in at the moment. So, if you learn this sutta, we can go ashore. Go ashore and find freedom, liberation, just like the Arahants did. So if our teacher, Most Venerable Kiribati Guru Nyanananda Thero Pingat Loku Swamin Wahanse, did not translate the Sutta Nipata in a very clear manner, lucid manner, we would not be able to learn these suttas as we do. So first we will pay respect to our teacher, Most Venerable Kiribati Guru Nyanananda Thero, for teaching us this sublime Dhamma of the Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So that is the meaning of Parayana, meaning you can get a soul, like just like the Arahants did. They realized these teachings and they freed themselves from sansaric suffering. So that is the meaning of Parayana. In the Parayana Vagga, there are 16 suttas. Today we are learning the first sutta of the Parayana Vagga. It is known as Ajita Sutta. So there are 21 participants, so you have to switch on your cameras. Okay? Out of respect to the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha, you have to show yourself and actively participate. So switch on your cameras. So in this sutta, it's a very beautiful sutta. So there is an ascetic. His name is Bhavari. Okay, the ascetics, they learn and practice the Veda. So this Bhavari, the ascetic, was living in the Kosalan country, Kosalan kingdom, And there was a river named Godavari, and he was living beside the river, living an ascetic life, not alone. He had 15 chief students, and together with himself and these 16 chief students, he watched over 500 other students. So there were all in all 516 students under his tutelage. So there were 16 main students, and with himself, he taught the other 500. So every year, once every year, he would give a huge, what we call ayaga, that means a sharing, a giving, or dana. Once a year, he spent a lot of money. Okay, well, he had money despite being ascetic because the king had given him land, and there were peasants who were living there, cultivating and earning a living. And the king said, okay, you don't have to pay me the taxes. Whatever you earn, you have to pay the taxes to Bhavari, the ascetic, because the king was so very fond of the ascetic Bhavari. So what he did with money, because he's an ascetic, he gave them away in the form of dana and acquired merit. So he was very kind and compassionate ascetic. So that year also he gave a huge dana, spent all of his money. Few days after the dana, another ascetic arrived at his hermitage. This ascetic was cunning. He was not a good ascetic, but his demeanor was like misleading, because he, at the outset, when you look at him, it seemed like he was a practitioner of the asceticism, because he had his whole body covered in dust, and he had long beard and hair as well. And it looked like he was practicing austere ascetic practices, but that was not the case. He came to get money to trick the ascetic to paying him, because it was known he's giving once a year huge alms givings. That means this guy is going to have money. So he was looking for an easy way to gain some cash. So he came to Bhavari and said, give me 500 gold coins. Because when he saw, like, Bhavari thought, okay, this must be a very powerful ascetic, the way he looks. So he instantly thought I should help him. Then he asked, how can I help you? Then he straight away asked, okay, you can help me, give me 500 gold coins. Then he said, oh, I am sorry, I spent all the money I had on the huge alms giving I gave a few days ago. So I am out of cash, I can't pay you any money because I don't have myself. Then that ascetic said, okay, if you are saying you can't pay me, if you are not giving me the money, I will curse you. 7 days from now, your head will be split into 7. Your top of your head, yeah, the crown of your head, the top of your head will be split in 7 days. And the poor ascetic, the kind and compassionate ascetic, Bhavari, was scared because he thought this ascetic was a really powerful ascetics. And ascetics, these had these supernatural powers they had gained through meditation, whereby they can destroy even villages into ashes, just like that, by a thought. They could do that. They could just curse villages, countries, and they will all be in ruins. So he thought this ascetic also had such powers by the looks of him. So he was very scared because he didn't have money. Now he's being cursed. And he was so sad that he could not meditate. He could not practice anymore. And because the devas know a person, they could see your mind, your thoughts, and they know if you are a good person or a bad person. So if a kind and compassionate person is in need, devas intervene to help that person. Okay, so a deva, a deity who was fond of Bhavari, the ascetic came to him and said, Bhavari, don't worry. You don't have to fear anything. That ascetic is a fake. He's not a true ascetic. He just wanted to play you for money. He wanted money, that's all. That curse is not going to work. He doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know the top of the head, or he doesn't know what it means for the top of the head to be split into seven. He knows nothing. But there is a person who know actually what is the top of the head and what does it mean for the top of the head to split into seven. Then Bavari was interested. Who is that special person? Tell me, I want to know. Then the deity said, there is a Buddha who has arisen in this world. He is the only one. Even I don't know what is the top of the head and how it is split in seven. If you go to the Buddha, then you will find the answers, said the deity. And then Bavari asked, where is he, the Buddha? The moment he heard the word Buddha, he was elated because there he felt a certain closeness to that word. Because in a past life, he was king in the Kashyapa Buddha's dispensation. And when he heard the Buddha by a friend, another king of his friend, he was a friend of another king who was his friend, gave him the message, there is a Buddha has arisen. So he sent again, he had the same disciples with him as his entourage in that life also. He sent some of them to go and meet the Kashyapa Buddha, Buddha Kashyapa. But by the time they arrived in the city, that Buddha had attained Parinibbana. So he missed out that the opportunity. But they practiced, they went for refuge to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha and practice the precepts, observe the precepts and practice meditation, and they were born in the heavenly worlds, and there again they were reborn in the time of the Gautama Buddha's dispensation, and they were now practicing asceticism. And the moment he heard the word the Buddha, it sounded so familiar. He wanted to go see the Buddha, but he first wanted to make sure. So he sent for his chief students, the 16 students, and said, I just heard that a Buddha has arisen in this world. You should go now. He's in Savatthi. Go there and meet him. Then the disciples say, like, how are you going to recognize whether he is truly the Buddha? How to find this out? Then Bavari, the ascetic, said, you go to him, but don't talk to him. You just go there and think these questions in your mind, then he will answer. Okay, first you have to go and inspect for the 32 marks of a great man, because the Buddha would possess these things. And he had taught his students to how to recognize these marks. And then you should think these questions. What are the questions? You should think the question, how many marks of a marks of a great man does Bavari himself possess? Because Bavari had 3 marks of a great man. You should ask, how many does he possess? What are they? What is his age? What asceticism does he practice? How many students he has likewise. So these are the questions, but you are not supposed to ask them, speak them up. You have to think of them, and if he's a Buddha, he will see your mind and then answer accordingly. And also ask this question, what is the top of the head? And what does it mean to say that the top of the head is split in 7? So those are the questions you should think. Then he would ask if it's a Buddha. So they left, the 16 students left to meet the Buddha. And when they arrived at the monastery in Savatthi, they asked the questions. They first saw the Buddha, and they saw all 32 marks of the great man. And some marks you can't see because they are concealed by his supernatural powers, spiritual powers. Buddha made them see what was concealed. So all 32 marks were seen to them, and they had no doubts. And they thought of the questions and Buddha answered. He said, "Here, your teacher has 3 marks of a great man. He practices Veda. He has 500 students." Likewise, he answered all the questions. Then thereafter, now they are very happy. And they come forth with the first question that they really wanted the answer. What is the question? What does it mean, the top of the head? Buddha answered, the top of the head is ignorance. Ignorance is the top of the head. What does it mean to split the head into 7? To dispel ignorance, to eradicate ignorance. That is what it means, splitting the head into 7 pieces. And they now freely ask the questions. And Ajita is the one who asked the question. There are 15 other. So in the first sutta, in the Parayana Vagga, in the Ajita Sutta, you get the questions of Ajita. In the next sutta, you get the questions of the other student, likewise of the 16 students. And at the end of this each sutta, having asked the questions, each of the students attain Arahantship. And they get a bhikkhu going forth. So these are very profound teachings that we learn, rather deep in meaning, but we'll try to understand as much as possible. So the first question is, Ajita asked the Buddha, Kenassu nyuto loko. Okay, Kenassu nyuto loko, which means with what is the world shrouded? With what is the world shrouded, covered, concealed? That is the question. Here the world means not the world we know as it is. Here world means the human being, made up of the 6 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. As a whole, this being, human being, is known as what? The world. So the question is, with what is the world covered? So this world, this being, that is us, we are covered with something. Kena sunyuto loko. What is that thing? Then the next question. Kenasu nappakasati. Why is it not evident that the world is shrouded? Why is it not evident? Why is not apparent? Why is this reality that the world is concealed is inconspicuous? Why is it so? That is the next question. Third question is, Kissa bilepanang bruhi. Tell me, with what is the world smeared? With what is this world smeared? King Sutassa Mahabhayam. What is its grace? What is the greatest danger, the fear faced by all the beings of the world? The greatest fear we face. So those were the 4 questions. Then we have the answer. What was the first question? With what is the world covered? No? Kenassu nyuto loko. Then Buddha answers. Avijjaya nyuto loko. With ignorance, the world is covered. That means the beings are covered, concealed by what? Ignorance. Why is this not evident? Kenassu nappakasati. Why is this not apparent that we are covered with ignorance? There's a reason. Buddha gives the reasons. Vevicha pamada nappakasati. Because of stinginess. Vevicha means stinginess. Pamada, heedlessness. This is not evident. What is not evident? It is not evident to us that we are covered by ignorance because of our stinginess and heedlessness. Is this true? How does our normal day, how do we live our life? We are drawn to the things we desire. Stinginess. We want to hoard, collect, acquire more and more things we love. And then we spend our time protecting them. We need dogs to protect our house. We would need security alarms. We put our cash in the banks, all of this stuff. We need fences, walls, all these things. Why? We have to protect what we acquire, what we collect. Stinginess. Then are we heedful? No. We are heedless. We are always pursuing more and more things to derive pleasure from because of our stinginess. And then we want to protect them. And we spend a lot of time on that alone in life. So therefore we are heedless. We don't have practice. We have the time to practice the Dhamma, develop good wholesome qualities, because our time is consumed by stinginess. Life is consumed by stinginess. That is why Buddha says, because of stinginess and heedlessness, it is not evident that we are covered by ignorance. Then it was asked the question, Kissapi lepanang bruhi. Tell me, with what is the world smeared? With what is these beings smeared? Are smeared. Then Buddha says, Japa bilepanang brumi. The world is smeared with craving, I tell you. So we are smeared with craving. We are adorned with craving. Okay? So we will understand how it is. Okay? And then Buddha answers the next question. What is the greatest fear we face? What is it? Dukkhassatsa mahabhaya. It is suffering. Dukkhamassa mahabhaya. The greatest fear we face is suffering. Why? Throughout our life we suffer. Again we are reborn. And then again we suffer. This has been happening for quite a long time now. So that is something we have to understand in life. So first we will discuss what is ignorance. That is the problem here, no? That we are concealed with ignorance. What is ignorance as you know it? Tell me, what is ignorance? Anyone?
Not knowing the
Ignorance
Four
is,
Noble Truths.
yeah, not knowing, very good, not knowing the Four Noble Truths. Is unaware, we are unaware there is such a truth as suffering. There is such a truth as cause of suffering. And there is the cessation of suffering, the third noble truth. And the fourth noble truth, the noble eightfold path leading to the cessation of suffering. Of course, we know them to speak, but have we realized? No. Therefore, we do not know. That is ignorance. And we normally talk about the 5 hindrances. But in a certain sutta, Avijja Nivarana Sutta, normally we talk of the 5 hindrances, no? Desire for sensual pleasures, ill will, what else? Thina Middha, no? Sloth and torpor, regret and restlessness. Regret and restlessness, what else? Doubt. These are the 5 hindrances, no? In Avijja Nivarana Sutta, Buddha says, monks, I do not see a single hindrance hindered by which people wander and fare on in samsara for a long time, like the hindrance of ignorance. So ignorance is like the foremost of the 5 hindrances. Hindered by ignorance, people wander and fare on for a long time in samsara. So that is the reason why we have been going through this cycle, this samsaric journey, because of ignorance. That is why Buddha says there is no another thing that hinders people like ignorance. Shrouded by delusion. What is the delusion? Not knowing the Four Noble Truths. They wander in samsara. Those who have given up delusion of ignorance shatter in the mass of darkness, wander no more. The cause for samsaric wandering is not to be found in them. They have shattered ignorance. They have dispelled the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, they are free of this wandering. Who are they? The Arahants. So that is the thing that we are covered with. We don't realize this because of our greed and heedlessness. Okay? Then what is the greatest fear we face? Suffering. So what is suffering as we know? Buddha taught us what suffering is now. What is suffering? In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, in the very first sutta by Buddha, no? He tells us what suffering is. What is it? Birth is suffering, age is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering, sorrow is suffering, lamentation is suffering, that is mental despair, and union, you have to like union with the things you do not like, and you have to depart from the things you love and cherish. No, separation from what is pleasing, that is also suffering, and not getting what one desires, that is also suffering. What is the meaning of that? When you say not getting one wants, that is suffering. Can someone tell me the meaning of that? Any one person? What does it mean to say not getting what one wants is suffering? How have you so far understood this? Tell me. So we are here to learn. Don't have to be shy. Anyone? It never occurred to you what this might mean?
I
Yes.
can try.
Yes,
I
Linda.
think it's because we don't want to be old and we don't want to die, and we cannot get it. That's why we are suffering.
Yeah. Excellent. That's the answer. Normally people understand like you want something, but here it's actually, that's also suffering, of course. But here no one want to age. Do you want to age? No. No one wants to be sick. But can you help it? No. That's the nature. So not getting what one wants is suffering. So then Buddha goes on to say, in brief, the 5 aggregates of clinging is suffering. So now think of the present scenario. How many people have died? Like COVID-19, how long it's been? 1 year? This pandemic? Just 1 year, I think, no? How many lives have we lost? 4.2 million lives. Would they have thought this might happen to them? They would die in a year? But they had to face that reality, no? Death is suffering. They got sick and they suffered before their death. Some didn't die, but still they suffered because of the virus. And what about the families? This is not just a number. 4.2 million people dying to date means how many families lost their loved ones? How many people were affected? That means they had to part with people, loved ones. They also experienced suffering. Sometimes they didn't get a proper funeral because you are not given the body when you die of COVID. So there are restrictions. So you can't have a proper funeral even. So see the whole mass of suffering that is evident in this world. No one thought in their wildest dreams that we would have to experience such a situation. But we did, because why? That is the reality. Once born, you are subject to aging, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, or whole mass of suffering. It's there. It's a reality. Once Buddha says, suppose a person were to take few drops of water from the ocean, the great ocean, few drops of water. And having taken, like the Buddha said, now compare the few drops of water he has taken in his hand and the water of the 4 great oceans. What is more, monks? Can you even compare? The disparity is so huge. So monks replied so. Then Buddha said, monks, if a person were to attain the fruition of stream entry, become a Sotapanna disciple, the amount of suffering they have given up is just like the waters of the 4 great oceans. The suffering that is left for him to suffer is just like the few drops of water. that remains in his hand. Why? Because once you become a stream entrant, you will be at most be born 7 times. Within 7 lives, you have the guarantee that you will attain Nibbana. But is that the case with us? Have we at least attained the first portion of the path? No. What is the risk there? There is the whole suffering, like the 4 waters of the great ocean is there for us to suffer. That's our predicament. That's something we have to understand. That's the reality of wandering in the samsara. That's the reality. That is why we try to practice and try to have faith, grow in confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and somehow find a way. Because the solution is there in the suttas. We have to learn and practice. So, and there is a nice sutta, another sutta. Let me bring up the sutta. The sutta name of the sutta is, yeah, it's called the precipice. The sutta is it's also from the Samyutta Nikaya, the connected discourse. I'll see if I can browse for the sutta. Yeah. So it's on Sutta Central. That sutta. It's called the precipice. This is how it goes. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagha on Mount Valcha peak. Then the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus in this manner. Come, bhikkhus, let us go to the Patibana peak for the day's abiding. So the name of this peak is Patibana. The Buddha said, we'll go there. Yes, Venerable Sir, those bhikkhus replied. Then the Blessed One, together with a number of bhikkhus, went to Patibana peak. A certain bhikkhu saw the steep precipice of the Patibana peak and said to the Blessed One, that precipice is indeed steep, Venerable Sir. That precipice is extremely frightful. But is there, Venerable Sir, any other precipice steeper and more frightful than this? There is, bhikkhu, said the Buddha. There is. Then he asked, what, Venerable Sir, what is that precipice steeper and more frightful than this one? Then Buddha said, those ascetics and brahmins, bhikkhus, who do not understand as it really is, this is suffering. Who do not understand as it really is, this is the origin of suffering. Who do not understand it as it really is, this is the cause of suffering. Who do not understand as it really is, this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. What do? They delight in volitional formations that lead to birth, in volitional formations that lead to aging, in volitional formations that lead to death, in volitional formations that lead to sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Delighting in such volitional formations, they generate volitional formations that lead to birth. Because we delight in things that lead to age, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, again and again, we acquire in volitional formations that bring about rebirth again and again. That means when we delight in things like things of the things you are attached to, don't they age? Think of your loved ones, they are subject to aging, they are subject to sickness, death, and they cause sorrow, lamenting, all the animate and inanimate things you desire, you cherish, and you are attached to, they change over time. And whatever feelings, experiences you have with them, with regard to them, they are all volitions. And all of them brings about rebirth. So Buddha, that's what he says. See, they generate volitional formations that lead to sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. Having generated such volitional formations, they tumble down the precipice of birth. They tumble down the precipice of birth, tumble down the precipice of aging, tumble down the precipice of death, tumble down the precipice of sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair. They are not freed from birth, aging, and death, not freed from sorrow, lamentation, the whole mass of suffering. So that is the greatest precipice. So that we have to understand that we have this danger in our life. Okay. So in another sutta, in this sutta, Buddha likens the six senses to the great ocean. Now we are talking about the suffering we have to experience because of the ignorance and wandering in the samsara. In this sutta, Buddha says, because the uninstructed worldling, who is an uninstructed worldling? A person who has not heard the teachings of the Buddha, an ordinary person. And Buddha says such a person speaks of the ocean as the ocean. They say, this is the ocean. Buddha said, but that is not the ocean in the noble one's discipline. In the noble one's discipline, that is not the ocean. That is only a great mass of water, a great expanse of water. So that's what it is, the ocean in the noble one's discipline. A great expanse of water, a great mass of water. That's all. Then Buddha goes on to say, the I bhikkhus is the ocean for a person. I is the ocean. Its current consists of forms seen by the eye. So the forms we see by our eyes are the currents of this ocean, the ocean of eye. And the currents are the forms we see. One who withstands that current consisting of forms is said to have crossed the ocean of the eye with its waves, with its whirlpools, sharks, and demons. One who withstands that current consisting of forms is said to have crossed the ocean of the eye with its waves, whirlpools, sharks, and demons. Crossed over, gone beyond, the Brahmin stands on high ground. Who is the Brahmin? The Arahant. The Arahants have crossed over the ocean of the eye. And the forms we see are the great waves that create all the dangers of this ocean. And there are also the whirlpools, the sharks and demons. That means there is so much of suffering caused because of the eye. And the forms that we see, together we are in an ocean of suffering. Likewise, the ear bhikkhu is the ocean, says the Buddha. Then what is the waves of the ocean of ear? Ocean called ear. What are the waves? The sound are the waves. Then there is also the sharks, the whirlpools. Then the nose is the ocean, the tongue, body, mind. Likewise is the ocean. And you suffer. So the Arahants, they have, it says here, they have withstand the currents. They withstood the currents. And then they have crossed over this ocean. Because as long as we are attached to these senses, we are attached to suffering. As long as we gain happiness, derive happiness through these senses, we will again and again reborn. And again, we will have six senses. And Buddha said, where there are the six senses, there is suffering. Because there are the ocean of eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. And there are the waves, the currents. And there is the suffering, the sharks, the demons, and the waves, the whirlpools. So, and the Brahmin that stands on the high ground means the Arahants. Because the Arahants have freed them from suffering. So that's how we have to understand that. That is another sutta. Buddha says, one who has crossed this ocean called the six senses, so hard to cross, with its dangers of sharks, demons, waves, he is known as the one with the foremost knowledge who has lived the holy life. Reached the world's end. He is called one gone beyond the world. That is an Arahant. So, in this, the first questions by Ajita, it was asked, with what are we concealed? We are concealed with ignorance. And why is it not evident to us? Because of greed and because of stinginess and heedlessness. And what is the thing by which we are adorned? And it was said we are adorned by what? Craving. Our whole life is adorned with craving. We are smeared with craving because we are always attached to things. Desire is always there in our lives because we crave for things, don't we? We crave for sensual pleasures. No, we crave for forms, sounds, odors, flavors, and tangibles. There's something like I have to tell now. It's been like say close to 10 minutes since we lost power over here. So now the UPS is running, but I don't know whether we'll get the power back. Hopefully we will. This is also a laptop, but still we need the current for the other devices. So I don't know if we don't get the power, suddenly you'll not see me anymore. Hope that doesn't happen. Normally the generator is supposed to kick in. I don't know what's going on today in the monastery, so we'll hope for the best and we'll continue the sutta. Just a warning. So craving for sensual pleasures. We crave for forms, sounds. What else do we crave for? Odors, taste, and touch. We crave for the sensual pleasure. That is called the kama tanha. That is there, no? So that is why we are smeared with craving. Then we also have bhava tanha. What is bhava tanha? Craving for existence. Because we all believe our life to be, we always think of us as being me, mine, myself. And then we are looking for a continued existence. Now, if a person comes to you and tell you will not be reborn again, suddenly a person gets scared. Why? Because you want to exist as a person. You always relate to yourself as a person. And there is the desire to experience the sensual pleasures. So you want to be reborn again to experience that sensual pleasures. That is why we have to learn of the suffering that is there with rebirth. So we get disenchanted of this wandering into samsara. Or else we always, unknowingly even, we like to be reborn. We do not want to cease to exist. Why? Bhavatanna is there. Not to forget of ourselves. There was a case of a anagami monk, a monk who had the fruition of, who had attained the fruition of non-returner, at the verge of becoming an arhat. But he was heedless. And once Buddha asked, why are you being heedless? You used to practice well until you became a non-returner. Now why are you heedless? Then he said, I thought I will rather be reborn in the Brahma world and then finish the rest over there, the practice, the training, and attain Arahancy. Why? There's Bhavatanna still. There is the craving to be reborn, even in a non-return. Only an Arahant doesn't have that. Then Buddha said, monk, even a little bit of feces, isn't it smelly? It smells, no? Even if there's a little bit of feces. Likewise, I do not say like that. I do not praise rebirth, even for a split second. Buddha say, I never praise rebirth. So that is why Buddha always encouraged us to free ourselves from the samsara. Because where there is rebirth, there is suffering in any form. So there is kamatanna, craving for the sensual pleasures, bhavatanna, craving for existence, vibhavatanna, craving for non-existence. That is what is that is. Craving for non-existence is the deep-rooted craving for this mind, body, and everything else to not exist. So when this craving becomes prominent, it causes rebirth in the formless realms, in the imperception spheres of imperception, impercipient realms. Where means that means a person thinking, okay, I do not want to exist. He practice a certain meditation by which you do not perceive anymore the mind and the body. But again, craving is there. He craved to not exist, and therefore again he is reborn in the impercipient sphere. Still a rebirth. Because he doesn't understand the craving is conditioned. He doesn't understand the cause and effect phenomena. He doesn't understand the dependent origination. So he practiced this meditation, thinking that's the path to liberation, but still again he's reborn. And there again, there's rebirth and there's suffering. One day now we are learning about craving, okay? How our life is smeared with craving. One day a certain Deva came to the Buddha and asked, who created these beings? Buddha said, it is craving that created the beings. How did craving create the beings? When there is craving, what happens? There is clinging.
Power.
Thinking.
Okay? Craving gives rise to clinging. Clinging gives rise to what?
Power.
Bhava, yeah. When there is clinging, how do you understand the word the bhava? Bhava means, a definition for bhava is arranging of karma to bear fruit. When there is clinging, there is the accumulation of karma to bear fruit. If there is no accumulation of karma to bear fruit, you can't talk of a bhava. And bhava pacchaya jati, when there is bhava, then there is rebirth. There, that is why you are created. Craving is the creator of beings. How true? So, monks, what is craving? So, what is craving? Buddha explained what is craving. Craving is sixfold. What do you crave for? We crave in 6 ways, no? We crave for forms, sounds, what's forms, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles, and mental phenomena. We crave for these 6 things. And also once Buddha was asked, what is the arrow that has pierced into the life? Then Buddha gave a clear reply, craving is the arrow that has pierced into our lives. So it's always there in our life. It's deep rooted, like an arrow. And then how would you feel when an arrow is pierced to it? There's always pain, no? There's always suffering. That's the nature of craving. As long as there is craving in your life, why? That is the cause of suffering, no? Craving. You have to suffer. So you have to one day somehow remove the arrow. You do it by the teachings of the Buddha. And then Buddha in another sutta, I think this is in the Mahanidana Sutta, no, Gaya Sutta. So in this sutta, Buddha said, monks, devas and humans dwell in forms. They are attached to forms. They delight in forms. With the change of forms, having to let go and eliminate the desire for forms, devas and humans dwell in suffering. Don't we delight in forms? We delight in forms. We are attached to forms. But did you ever come across a form that is permanent? No. That we can keep with us forever? No. All the forms, sounds, tastes, tangibles, and the mental phenomena we are attached to, by which we delight, in which we delight, they are all subject to change. Therefore, Buddha said, having to let go, there is a time then that we have to let go of the things we love, the forms, sounds, and all that. And Buddha here says, having to let go and eliminate the desire for forms and sounds and all that, devas dwell in suffering. That's how it happens. That is why people, devas and humans, both, they dwell in suffering. So in this way, we have to understand we suffer because craving is smeared in our lives. Okay? How much more time do we have for the sutta? Half an hour?
Yes, Bante, we have quite some time. I think it's almost 1 hour, right?
We have 1 hour more?
Oh, no, actually, no, Bante, sorry.
Okay. So
About half an hour.
half an hour, okay. I don't know how long of electric power we have. Hopefully we can finish. So that's up to that point. Okay, you understand the first questions and answers, I hope, to some extent. So then the next questions are asked by Ajita. Savanti sabbadi sota. Sotanang king nivarana. Okay, that means they flow every which way. The streams. What is their blocking? What are the streams? They flow every which way. The streams of craving. Okay, that is the question. The streams of craving that flow every which way. What is their blocking? What blocks the streams of craving? Simply. Sotanang sangvarang bruhi. What they are restrained? Tell me. What restrains the streams of craving? Okay, the streams of craving are flowing every way, every which way. And he asks, what is their restraint? What restrains the stream of craving? Kena sota pitiyare. With what are they finally stopped? What are stopped? How the cravings of the streams of craving are stopped. With what are they? These streams dried up. How do you dry up these streams of craving? Okay. So we have to first understand the first thing, how these streams of craving flow through us. Because the moment we see a form, desire or craving arises with us. We see a beautiful sound, a pleasant sound, hear a pleasant sound, there arises craving within us. So this current of craving is always flowing from the senses. It's always there. So how do you stop this? How do you restrain? How do you block it? That is the question that is asked. So then Buddha gives the answer. So the answer is Yani sotani lokasmin satitesang nivarana. Whatever streams there are in the world, their blocking is mindfulness. So the streams of craving can be blocked with what? Mindfulness. Sotanang sangvarang brumi. How is the streams of craving restrained? Again the Buddha answers, mindfulness is their restraint, I tell you. So you can block or you can control the streams of craving and also restrain the streams of craving. How? Through mindfulness. That is why Buddha said, Sotanang sangvaram brumi. Mindfulness is the restraint. Panyayate pitiyare. With wisdom, they are finally dried up. You can totally dry up the streams of craving with what? With wisdom. So the summary is craving has to be controlled and restrained by mindfulness. Do you remember that beautiful simile of the Chappanaka Sutta? No? The simile of the 6 animals. In that simile it says there are these 6 animals. As I remember, there is a dog. So these 6 animals have different feeding grounds, different habitats. There's a dog, as I remember, there's a snake, and there's a bird, there's a monkey, there's a jackal, and there's a alligator or crocodile, I think. Those are the 6 animals. And what are the different habitats of these animals? The dog lives in the village. The bird flies into the air. The monkey to the trees. And the crocodile to the water, snake to the anthill, no? Likewise, they have different habitats, feeding grounds. So anyway, you tie these 6 animals together. Okay, you tie a rope around each of the animal, then all the 6 ropes are tied together and you let go. Because they have different feeding grounds, different habitats, they would always pull in 6 directions. At any given moment, When all, because the 6 animals pulling in 6 directions, they get exhausted. And whatever one is thrown at any given moment, they are all pulled in that way. Likewise, we are also pulled by our 6 senses. Sometimes what is prominent is what we see. Sometimes it is what we hear. Like say you are watching TV. Someone comes and call your name, but you don't hear. Why? You are engrossed watching television. Okay? That is where your attention is. You are being dragged. Just like at that moment, you are dragged to the forms. Any other given moment, it sounds. Likewise, because the awareness, mental awareness at any given point, it should be with one of the 6 sense faculties. So like the 6 animals, you are being pulled. So always the mind is restless. So in this simile, Buddha said, what happens if you tie these 6 animals to a pole? Then they would still pull in each direction, but they can't move. Then in the end, they will get exhausted and uh, lie near the pole, at the bottom of the pole, nearby the pole. And Buddha likened this pole to mindfulness. So that is how you restrain your 6 senses. You restrain, Buddha likened the pole to actually mindfulness of the body, kaya gata sati. So if you practice mindfulness of the body, your focus is always with your body. Your mind will not be drawn to the external forms, sounds, tastes, tangibles, or mental phenomena, or the orders. So that is how you restrain the craving for forms, sounds, and all that by mindfulness. So it's clear, no, how these streams of craving can be blocked with mindfulness, can be restrained with mindfulness. And Buddha said, no, the 6 sense faculty, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body has mind as its recourse. And mind in turn has mindfulness as its recourse. That is how you, with craving, you can restrain your, with mindfulness, you can restrain the streams of craving. With wisdom, they are finally dried up. So when we talk mindfulness, it's always the 4 establishments of mindfulness. Okay, what we practice that right mindfulness, contemplation of the body, kayanupassana, vedananupassana, contemplating on feeling, chittanupassana, contemplating on mental phenomena or dhamma. Then what is the 4th? Dhamma, chittanupassana is contemplating on the mind. Sorry, dhammanupassana is contemplating on the mental, on the dhamma. Okay, the 4-fold striving, 5 hindrance, 5 aggregate, the 4 noble truths, likewise, all this. Okay, so these are the 4 establishments of mindfulness. So with this, you can restrain and control the craving. So how do you dry up? Next question is about, like, say, how do you panyayati pitire? With wisdom, they are finally dry up. So when you practice the 4 establishments of mindfulness, in turn, what happened? The 7 factors of enlightenment, sati, dhammavichaya, virya, piti, pasadi, samadhi, upekka. These bojjhangas, the 7 factors of enlightenment, comes into fulfillment. And your wisdom grows with that. With wisdom, you can eradicate craving. You can dry up the streams of craving. You have to practice the 4 establishments of mindfulness. Thereby, you have to fulfill. You know what the 7 factors of enlightenment are, no? Sati means mindfulness. Dhammavichaya means contemplating according to the Dhamma, wise consideration. Virya, effort. Piti, rapture. No, piti is, rapture. Then joy. Piti, pasadi. Piti is rapture. Pasadi is the lightness of the body. When there is pasadi, then there is samadhi, concentration. Then there is equanimity, upekka. And thereby you can gain realization by realizing the 4 noble truths. Then thereby you can dry up the streams of craving. So next question Ajit asked about, next question is about the person who has dried up the stream of craving. Okay, the nature of that person. So he asks, Ajit asks, Panya cheva sati cheva, wisdom and mindfulness. Nama rupancha marisa, name and form, Venerable Sir. Etang me putto pabruhi. Tell me what I ask. Tatte tang upurujjati. Where do they cease to exist? So the question is wisdom, mindfulness, name and form. Those three things, tell me, where do they cease to exist? So here the wisdom is the wisdom of the Arahants, who have in this way restrained the streams of craving, control the streams of craving through mindfulness by developing the four establishments of mindfulness, by developing wisdom, and they have also dried up completely the streams of craving. So they have, so the wisdom is the wisdom the Arahants have gained by realizing the Four Noble Truths. With that wisdom, they have dried up the streams of craving. And it is asked here how their wisdom, mindfulness, and name cease to exist. So this happens when Arahant attains Parinibbana. Okay? Because here it's talked about wisdom, mindfulness, and name and form. Because as long as an Arahant is alive, there is consciousness, there is name and form, there is mindfulness, there is wisdom. What is not there is ignorance. Because they have achieved full realization. And because of ignorance, avidya pacha sankhara. There are the volitional formations. Kaya sanskara, vati sanskara, chitta sanskara. They are the in-breath and out-breath. Vati sanskara is implied and applied thought, no? Applied and sustained thought. Then there is sanya vedana, perception and feeling. So even in Arahant, there are these things. The volitional formations are there, but they are not affected by ignorance. Because of because of volitional formation, there is avidya, sanskar, there is vijnana. The consciousness is there in an Arahant. Just like you and me, therefore they see, hear things because consciousness is there. But the consciousness is not affected by ignorance. That is the difference. Therefore, that consciousness do not act as a bead, acts as a seed, bija. Normally, the consciousness is known as a seed, no, that will again bring about a rebirth. But because ignorance is normal in an Arhat, it will not fare on the consciousness. Okay? So with the parinibbana of an Arahant, the consciousness ceases to exist. So does the wisdom and mindfulness, name and form. Because name and form and consciousness, they coexist together. Because there is no more consciousness, because the consciousness, just like what is the example Buddha gave, just like the lamp that extinguishes when there is no more oil or wick, the flame is no more. So the consciousness does not fare on. Consciousness ceases to exist at the moment of parinibbana of an Arahant. That is the answer. So when a Arahant attain parinibbana, mindfulness, wisdom, name and form, all of these cease to exist. So some people, have you heard that they say the power of the Buddha is in space, in the universe? So is that true? So then there has to be consciousness. There has to be idea of form, a feeling, a perception, a volition, or consciousness. If in any person there is any one of these form, because they exist together, all five. That is why they are called an aggregate. They don't exist alone. So if someone says the Buddha is Buddha's life force or whatever, the power is in the universe, it has to be connected with either form, feeling, or whatever, one of the five aggregates. No, that means Buddha is not free from suffering. So it is not true. Once the Buddha attained Parinibbana, there is no more talk of life again. But there remains one thing. There only remains the power of the truth in the words of the Buddha. That is always there. That is why you say, Etena Satchena Swati Hotu Engi Chanda Parita. By the power of this truth, may there be well-being. Because the truth he taught to this world, it's everlasting. And that power is always there in this universe. So that is why Parita gives you protection. Because there lies the truth in the teachings of the Buddha, the words of the Buddha. So then the Buddha says, Buddha answers this actually. Yametang panyang apuchi ajitatang vadamite. This question you ask, Ajita, I'll answer it for you. Yatta namancha rupancha asesang uparujjati. Where name and form cease to exist without a trace. Vinyanasta nirodena ettetang uparujjati. With the cessation of consciousness, they cease to exist. So when the consciousness cease of an arahant, then you cease to exist. These things, mindfulness, name and form, all this cease to exist. I remember an instance where a certain arahant, I think Godika, his name was Godika, before he attained arahant, he tried so very hard to achieve jhanas. But every time he achieved jhana, it declined. That state, he could not maintain that jhanic state. So next time he said, the next time I attain jhana, I will make the most of that opportunity to give up the desire for life. And he committed suicide at that moment, because this is something that you can do when you are like, that is a very rare instance you find in the suttas. He gave up his desire for life by committing, like he severed his neck himself, and his body lay there on a rock. And Buddha saw all this happening, because Mara, when he was trying to meditate, Mara came to Buddha and said, like when he decided to commit suicide while he was in this jhanic state, giving up all attachment to life, Mara knew that, okay, if he's going to do this, definitely he will attain Nibbana. So he came to the Buddha and said, your disciple over there, Godika, he is going to commit suicide. That is something you have not allowed. Buddha did not allow that, no? So, but Buddha knew in his case, he was going to attain arahantship by doing so. Buddha said, some very heedful practitioners, disciples of mine, do that even in that way as well. So he didn't stop him. So he attained Parinibbana the moment he committed suicide, because he gave up all desire for life. And Buddha came there, and there was a smoke going here and there over the body that was like discarded there, lying there on the ground. There was this smoke going round and round. Buddha showed the monks, look, do you see that trail of smoke in the sky? Monks said, yes. That is no one but Mara. That is none other than Mara. He is looking for the consciousness of this monk. Even the other monks didn't know he had attained Parinibbana. Buddha said, no one can find where his consciousness fared on. He attained Parinibbana. So his consciousness ceased to exist. That's the nature of Arahants. So the next question is, Yeta Sankhata Dhammase. That means those here who have fathomed the Dhamma in the Buddha's dispensation. Now Ajita wants to know the nature of these Arahants, the ones who practice in the teachings of the Buddha. Now he's so very fond of the practice and the ones who practice. So he wants to know their nature. He asks, those here who have fathomed the Dhamma in the Buddha's dispensation, the Arahants, and also Yecha Seka Putu Ida, those who are still in training like ourselves also, the Seka, the trainees. Tesang me nipako iriang putto pabruhi marisa. When you venerable say astute ask this, when you ask of this question, You who you are astute, tell me their manner of life. I want to know what is the manner of their life, of the Arahants and also the other practitioners. So as a disciple, we should also know how our practice should be, how our demeanor should be, how our training should be. So then the Buddha gives the answer. Kame suna bigijjaya. He should not hanker for sensual pleasures. Hanker means he should not crave, he should not yearn for sensual pleasures. So as living lay life, you live with the sensual pleasures, but you don't have to yearn for them. You don't have to crave for them. You don't have to hanker for them. You should understand these are impermanent things and things that I have to let go. You should have that understanding. That wisdom has to be nurtured within you. Because when there comes a day when you have to truly let go of that thing, you can do so without having to suffer. Because that wisdom will help you. Okay, so that's important to know. Kame sunabhigijjaya. He should not hanker, yearn for sensual pleasures. Manasa navilosya. Should be limpid, clear in mind. So you should always have a clear mind, not a muddled mind. There should be clarity of mind. Your mind should not be restless. That is why you have to try to practice meditation from time to time. Even for 10 minutes in the morning, in the noon time, and at night. That helps. And also you have to practice mindfulness. You have to practice sense restraint. Or not, what happens? The craving cannot be controlled. It will be flowing from your senses. You will be smearing yourself with craving. Okay? The ignorance will grow. You will be shrouded with ignorance. And you will not see that. Why? Because of heedlessness, because of stinginess. Now you know the teachings, you can do something about that. You can control. You can mold your life according to the teachings of the Buddha. That is what disciples do. So, Manasa Navilosya should have a clear mind, a limpid mind. Kusalo Sabba Dhammanam, kindle all aspects of the Dhamma. What are the all aspects of the Dhamma? Four foundations of mindfulness, the fourfold striving, four means of accomplishment, no, Iddhipada. Then the five faculties, five powers. What are the five faculties? Saddha, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. They in turn become powers. Same thing. Shraddha is confidence, Viriya effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. These are the powers. These are the faculties of a training. Based on these powers, you have the power to abandon the unwholesome and develop the wholesome. That is why they are called powers. Why are they faculties? Because things that are ingrained within you. You have to ingrain themselves within you. Then the seven factors of enlightenment and the Noble Eightfold Path. Together, all these 37, they constitute what? The aspects of Dhamma that you should be skilled in as a disciple. Okay? So these things, you have to be delighted when you learn the teachings. And you should think how fortunate I am to go for refuge to such a teacher, the Buddha. How grateful I am to have gone for refuge to such a Dhamma, so sublime. It is something you can practice, something you can understand for yourself. And how fortunate I am to go for refuge to the Sangha, the Arahants, the disciples who practiced, who lived by these teachings, and who attained the fruits of the path. That is what it means to be delighted in the Triple Gem. That is what it means to go for refuge to the Triple Gem. That is what it means to give your life to the Triple Gem. There you will find safety, security, and freedom from suffering. So that is how you should think. Then you grow in confidence and you will more and more want to practice the teachings of the Buddha. Then Sato Bhikkhu Paribhajeti. He, the monks, live his life ever mindful. Okay, then you have to live your life ever mindful. Always mindfulness has to be there. So you have craving in check to restrain, because without mindfulness you can't understand what's going on in life, how the defilements crop up in your mind. Mindfulness has to be there all the time. So that is how disciples they live. That is why in the time of the Buddha many attained fruits of the path, because they lived by the Dhamma. And there is this nice simile. So there ends the sutta, and there is this nice simile in the Avijja Sutta. In that sutta, Buddha says, just as when it is raining and the rain pours down in thick droplets, so the rain is raining and it's a heavy rain on a mountain top, it's raining on a mountain top. Then the water flows down along the slope and fills the clefts, the gullies, and the creeks. These becoming full fill up the pools. Then these becoming full fill up the lakes. These becoming full fill up the streams. These becoming full fill up the rivers. And these becoming full fill up the great ocean. Thus there is the nutriment for the great ocean, and in this way it becomes full. That is how the ocean gets filled up. So likewise, Buddha said, so too, associating with good persons, Sappurisa, becoming full. So you get more and more association with the noble friends, the Kalyana Mitta, fills up here in the good Dhamma, like you do through this program. Here in the good Dhamma, becoming full fills up faith. You grow in confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Then faith becoming full fills up wise consideration. You have more belief in the teachings now. You begin to contemplate upon those teachings that you have learned. Wise consideration becoming full fills up mindfulness and wisdom. There grows within you mindfulness and wisdom. Mindfulness and wisdom becoming full fill up restraint of the sense faculties. You become a practitioner who restrains your sense faculties. Restraints of the sense faculties becoming full fills up the three kinds of good conduct. Good conduct by body, speech, and mind. Okay? You practice those. The three kinds of good conduct becoming fulfilled fill up the four establishments of mindfulness. Then you can practice mindfulness. Kāyanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana. Once you have fulfill, purifying your actions by body, speech, and mind. Not before that. Okay? So the four establishments of mindfulness becoming full fill up the 7 factors of enlightenment. Then sati dhammavichaya virya piti pasadi samadhi upekka. The 7 factors of enlightenment come to fulfillment. The 7 factors of enlightenment becoming full fill up true knowledge and liberation. Thus there is nutriment for true knowledge and liberation. And in this way they become full and you escape from suffering. So that is the path. So be pleased of the teachings of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Arahants, and all the disciples who realize these teachings. So may we also have the good fortune to realize these teachings in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so what's next? Is a break? Is it a break?
Also, sir, I think break will be in 45 minutes, but we can take a break first. Then we can have question and answers if Bhante doesn't mind.
No. If you have questions, we can go. It's discussion. No, now, Dhamma discussion.
Until yes, this program will be until 10 a.m. before break. That means it will be 6:30, I think, in Sri Lanka. Yes.
It's 6:50 now. It's 6:50 now in Sri Lanka. How long do we have for the Dhamma discussion?
Until 10 a.m. here. What time is it in Sri Lanka? Subhadaputta, can you help me? What time has
7:30. Okay, 7:30. That's so we have
7:30?
time 30 until the break. So we have time for the Dhamma discussion.
Yes,
Okay.
Bhante. Yes.
So if you have questions, you can ask. From the sutta, if you have questions, you can ask.
No, but that's not an answer. I
Yeah.
had a question with regards to and Bhante was mentioning about craving for existence and craving for non-existence. Could
Yeah.
Bhante go over the craving for non-existence?
Yeah, sure. So when we say that's Vibhava Tanna, no? Craving for non-existence. Some people consider that say, I suffer because of my body and I suffer because of the mind. So normally a person who have not heard the teachings of the Buddha, that is how they would normally see things, no? I suffer because of the body and also the mind, where there's the defilements. So you think, okay, if I can somehow let go of my perception so that I do not feel my body, I do not feel my mind. So you are letting go. Normally in the Western practice of letting go, that is what happens actually. So you achieve a certain state of jhanic state, you don't no longer feel your mind and body, and they misunderstand this to be realization, that liberation from suffering. But there is craving because they don't see how the suffering is conditioned. Suffering is a conditioned phenomena. That is what we learn to dependent origination. There is ignorance, avidya, sanskar, vinyan. Likewise, the dependent origination. Dependent origination is how suffering comes to be. But they misconstrue this to be in, they misunderstand it because they don't know the teachings of the Buddha, and they think by practicing this sort of meditation you can let go of the mind and the body. But still, because they do not know, karma is being created because dependent origination is there, it does not cease to exist within them. So they are again reborn in the non-percipient sphere where you don't perceive anything. It's like being in a deep sleep. But once the karma that have accrued to bring about that birth in the world, that realm of non-percipient sphere, it will also elapse. That karma will also come to an end at a given moment, and then again you have perception again. You will perceive things. The moment you perceive, you will fare on from that world to a world where there is perception again, because the craving is there, and where there is craving, then there is rebirth, and with rebirth there is also suffering. So that is how you have to understand Vibhavatanna. So as long as you do not understand the cause and effect phenomena, you will not understand dependent origination. You will not be free from rebirth. Okay.
Sounds many merits.
Okay.
Awasare Bhante, may I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Bhante, following Minupaputta's question, I would like to ask Bhante about this non-percipient sphere. My first question will be, is this non-percipient sphere is in the fourth jhana's plane, Bhante? Number two question will be, in that sphere, do the beings still have consciousness, or is just craving them, Bhante? Many merit, Bhante.
There is all five aggregates, but it's not apparent. That's all. Because when you can't talk about consciousness in isolation. Where there is consciousness, there is form, there is feeling, there is perception, there is volition. But in that state, you do not perceive it, but it's there in the latent state. It's latent. That's all. But that is the craving is there. Okay.
Yes.
So there is a certain. I didn't share with you because I didn't think we have time to understand how craving exists within ourselves in a latent, like it's there underlying that we do not see it, but it's there. So there is this story. Once the Buddha was this in the Dhammapada. because now I see that we have time, we can discuss this. Mm. In the Dhammapada, there is this incident where Buddha goes on an alms round to the Rajagaha and together with monks, and also Honorable Ananda Sayingas, Ananda Thero was also there. And Buddha sees, Buddha says this, it was saw a female pig and it was feeding on feces. Seeing this pig, Buddha smiled. And you know, when Buddha smiles, the Ananda Sayingas is following him, but still there is this light that comes from his teeth, a dazzling light that circles his head and disappears. Then you know he smiled even though you are following behind. So Ananda Sayingas saw this light and he knew Buddha smiled. And Buddhas don't just smile at a whim just like we do. There's always a reason behind it. So Buddha, he asked, when Buddha smiled, they don't show your teeth. Okay, normally in special instance when he smiled, he saw teeth. Then that light would emanate from the Buddha's teeth. That's when Ananda Sayingas no Buddha smiled. He wanted to know why Buddha smiled. So then Buddha says, Ananda, this yarn saw was a hen. Once he was this female pig. This saw was once a hen in the Kassapa, Kakusanda Buddha's dispensation. In that time, when the Kakusanda Buddha was in the human world, it was a hen. And there was a certain monastery, and monks were reciting the Dhamma in this monastery. And this hen would go there, and it is fairly loud with this tune. The hen doesn't understand what's been chanted, but it was pleased of the tune. And because of that good karma, in the next life, this hen was born as a princess, I think. Yeah, princess. And this princess, once when she went to the latrine is a toilet with not so much like a modern, like simple toilet. So in this toilet, you can actually see the feces and all the worms, the maggots. So she saw the maggots as well, and she felt so lost. She lost that the things that she saw, the worms, and so much of repulsiveness growed in her. She began to practice meditation later on based on the sign that she saw, and she was able to attain first jhana. Okay, so she stifled her craving, and therefore she attained first jhana, and she was able to be reborn in the Brahma world. But still, you have not eradicated craving. It's there. It's just latent. So then there is again rebirth, and she was reborn like this as a pig, a female pig. Now eating on feces. So likewise, the craving will surface, and then you have to search. That's the danger of actually wandering in samsara. And that is why Buddha smiled, because Buddha saw how these beings, how they change in each life. She was a hen, then a princess, then practiced jhanas, went to the Brahma world. Brahma world is a place where you do have no desire for the sensual pleasures. That is why there are no sensual pleasures there in the Brahma world. But still now you find yourself in the sensual world, being a pig, eating, feeding on feces. That's life. That's the nature of life. That's why Buddha smiled. And Buddha said these nice verses. And here Buddha says, Ananda, look on account of the craving for existence and rebirth. Because she craved for existence and rebirth, there is no end of the round, no end to the round of existence in life and the suffering that goes with. Buddha goes on to say these verses, Yatapi mule anupaddave dalhe, chinnopi rukko punareva ruhati, evampi tanhanuse anuhate, nibbattati dukkhamidam punapuna. Which means, if its root remains undamaged and strong, a tree, even if cut, will grow back. Even if a tree is cut, it will grow back as long as the roots are undamaged and strong. Likewise, so too, if a latent craving is not rooted out, the suffering returns again and again. How true is that, no? That is why even she was born in the jhanas, in having developed jhanas in the Brahma, still again, she had to go suffering. Then Buddha goes on to say, next verse, Yassa chatting sati sota mana passavana bhusa vaha vahanti dutti ditta duditting. No, vaha vahanti duditting sankappa raga nissita. He whose 36 streams, that is 36 streams of craving, okay, flowing to what is appealing are strong. The currents resolving based on passion carry him of wrong views away. So when the streams of cravings are flowing through his life to things that he find appealing, that is what you find crave for. And when that craving is strong, the currents that resolves based on passion carry him in samsara, because he has the wrong views. As long as you come to the noble eightfold path, you do not possess the right view. It is only when you attain stream entry, you base yourself in right view. It is from that point onward you can gradually understand the Dhamma and gradually eradicate craving. Okay? Then Buddha said, Savanti sabbadi sota lata ubbijjatittati tancha diswa latang jatang moolang panyaya chindata, which means they flow every which way. That means craving flows every which way from the senses. The streams, but the sprouted creeper stays in place. Now seeing that the creeper's arisen cut through its root with discernment. Now you have to see with wisdom, there are the roots, then they have to be cut out. That means the craving has to be rooted out. Saritani sinehitani cha somanassani bhavanti jantuno te sata sita sukesino teve jati ruparaga nara. Loosened and oiled are the joys of a person. People bound by enticement, looking for ease, to birth and aging they go. Because when we are always attached to something. Once we are attached, that means we are flowing in the currents of craving. But we delight in it. We delight in this flow of craving. We delight with the things we are attached to. And when we get overwhelmed, when we get attached to that comfort, that joy we derive from those things, we seek it again and again. We want more of it. Just think of something delightful that you are eating. No, you quickly eat it sometimes. No, you want to gobble up more and more because feeling is always impermanent. Because of contact, there is feeling. Then contact season, there is no feeling. So you want more. No, you get more and more the same. Like if it's ice cream, you want more ice cream. If it's some food you like, you want more of it. Why? Feeling is impermanent. You are always looking for more, and you pursue these sense pleasures. And therefore, these beings, here Buddha says, to birth and aging they go. They again and again are reborn. Then Buddha says, Tasinaya purakkata paja parisappanti sasova badhito sangyojana sangha satta dukkha mupenti punappunang chiraya. Encircled with craving, people hop round and around like a rabbit caught in a snare. Now see how the Buddhas see our predicament. Encircled with craving, people hop round and around like a rabbit caught in a snare. So think now when Buddha sees what's happening to people because of the defilements, the compassion he feels for the beings. That is why after attaining how much he toiled to attain enlightenment, having fulfilled the perfections of many years in samsara, going through so much of hardship, and for 6 years practicing self-mortification, to an end that we cannot fathom as human beings. Out of compassion, he realized the teachings. because that is before realizing the teaching. Once he became enlightenment, how he would have felt when he saw the people's journey in samsara. That is why Buddha said, like a rabbit caught in a snare, tied with fetters and bonds, they go on to suffering again and again for long. That's our life. Tasinaya purakkata paja parisappanti sasova bhadito tasma tasinang vinode bhikkhu akanki viragamattano. Encircled with craving, people hop round and round like a rabbit caught in a snare. So a monk should dispel craving, should aspire to dispassion for himself. So we have to somehow gradually, we can't get of craving at once. First, what we have to do, we have to get rid of the self view. For that to happen, you have to begin with faith in the Buddha. Then you have to practice virtue. You have to develop in the knowledge of the Dhamma. Shraddha, Sila, Sutta, Chaga, you have to practice generosity. You have to develop wisdom. That is, you have to gradually bit and bit think according to the Dhamma and try to broaden your wisdom. Okay? So practice the 5 powers of the training. That's what you have to do. So then gradually you can move forward in the path. Okay? Any questions? Any more questions?
Thank you, Bhante. Well,
Okay. No questions? Did you clearly understand what we learned today?
Bhante, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you explain what volitional formations are?
Volitional formations, yeah. Volitional formations is threefold. We say in Pali, Kaya Sanskara, Vachi Sanskara, Chitta Sanskara. So Kaya Sanskara is bodily formations. So why is bodily formations Kaya Sanskara known like that? Because in-breath and out-breath. Okay, it's connected with the body. Therefore, it's called bodily formation, Kaya Sanskara. Then Vachi Sanskara is connected with what? Words. Okay. Why? Because before you, normally we say Vachi Sanskara is applied and sustained thought. Because before you speak, we think the words, no? Then we speak. There is the thought formation, then there is speech. So that is why Vachi Sanskara, applied and sustained thought, is called Vachi Sanskara. That is the second aspect of volitional formation. Third aspect is Kaya Sanskara, Vachi Sanskara, Chitta Sanskara. That is Sanya and Vedana. That is connected with the mind. So that is why it's called Chitta Sanskara. So perception and feeling. So likewise, you have to understand these are the threefold volitional formations, because we have all this, no? We breathe and there is a process of thinking before talking, and there is a perception and feeling. So together, these are called volitional formations. So in Arahants, these volitional formations are not affected by ignorance, but in our case, in beings who have not fully realized, only Arahants are not affected. In all other beings, to certain degree, even the other beings who have attained certain fruits of the path are affected, because ignorance is there. They are affected by their in-breath and out-breath is affected by ignorance. The thoughts are affected by ignorance. Then the perception and feeling are affected by ignorance. Then therefore there is the cycle of dependent origination. Then there's rebirth and suffering and all that. Okay. That's how we have to understand volitional formations. Any other questions? Are there any questions in the chat? I didn't check the chat. No. And there was any other questions? We have more time, no? Like 10, 15 minutes, I think, yeah. Okay, then there is this sutta. It's called Mahanidana Sutta. You find this. How this desire, there are certain links that are created because of the craving. In this Sutta, Buddha said, Ananda, because of feeling, craving arises. That we can understand, no? And because of craving, there is seeking. This is very nice, this Sutta, okay? Because of feeling, craving arises. Because of craving, there is seeking. Because of seeking, there is gain. Because of gain, there is arriving at a decision about what was gain. Because of arriving at the valuation, okay, you value what you acquired. Because of valuing, there is attaching with desire. Because of attaching with desire, there is the mind immersing in what was gained. With the thought, it's mine. Because of the mind's immersion in what was gained with the thought, it is mine. There is the arising of the sense of ownership in the mind. Because of the arising of the sense of ownership in the mind, there arises stinginess. Because of stinginess, there arises safeguarding what was gained. Because of the struggle to safeguard what was gained, various evil, unwholesome phenomena originate. The taking up of clubs and weapons, conflicts, quarrels, puerile scolding, divisive speech and lying. All the suffering, all the trouble, quarrels in the world, where does it begin? When craving arises. Because of feeling, there's craving. Now I'll teach you so you can understand what's going on here. Feeling, there arises craving, that you can understand. Because of craving, there is seeking. Okay, now think a person crave to buy a new piece of land. What does he think next thing? Land and a house. Then he seeks, no? For a good spot, a good place, a good accommodation, whatever he's looking. Because of seeking, there is gain. Normally, what you seek, you find somehow, no? That's how life goes. For anything, what you seek, you gain. Because of gain, there is arriving at a valuation. You value, this is worth this much. So then there's a bargaining, or somehow you give a value, certain value. Because of this valuation, then say you give a value, then because of attaching with the desire in the mind, you are still not bought. But in your mind, you want to buy it, you think it's worth buying. Because of attaching a desire in the mind, immersing in what was gained. Like you then somehow buy it, no, then you immerse in it. You think it's worth the value and you buy that piece of land with the house. And then you immersed in it because you see the value. Now you know it's something you like and something you want to keep with it. That is why it said you think it is mine. Because of the mind's immersing in what was gained with the thought it is mine, there is the arising of the sense of ownership in the mind. You think it's the piece of land I own. This is the house I own. It's my car, my whatever, likewise my clothes, my computer. You get attached. Then because of the arising of the sense of ownership in the mind, there arises stinginess. You don't want to share. Within the family, when the parents, then there comes the time when the people divide the property among the children. There's so much quarrel, for their share, for the sense of ownership. They think, I want that. Likewise, they want their share because because the sense of ownership is there. And then even think of you will have there's stinginess, there's the attachment, you have to safeguard it. Then you will draw a fence, you will erect a fence, no? You do all that because of what? Stinginess. You struggle to keep the ownership. Because of the arising of the sense of ownership in the mind, there arises stinginess. Because of stinginess, there is safeguarding what was gained. That is why you do all the thing to protect the land and the house you bought. Because of the struggle to safeguard what was gained, various evil, unwholesome phenomena originate. Because next to your house, there is another person trying to safeguard his land, house, and things. That's what all the people are doing. And at a larger scale, countries, the politicians, the leaders are all, they are fighting for their fair share of the sense of ownership, and they want more and more. And we get what? The taking up of clubs. Nowadays, you take up all the new weapons of the new era, no? Weapons of mass destruction, the nuclear weapons, and all that comes into play. We don't have peace and harmony in the world. Where did it begin? Because the beings of the world are smeared in craving, adorned in craving. So how true are the words of the Buddha? So that is why we should be very pleased to have the opportunity to go for refuge to such a sublime, exalted person, the supreme teacher, Gautama Buddha. So any questions? That is the Gaya Sutta. No, that is a, yeah, it's the Mahanidana Sutta if you want to read that. Okay, there are, it's a excerpt. There are many more in that sutta.